What is up, Sooner Nation? Welcome back to another edition of Double Trouble Nightly uh, here on a Monday evening, and we got a special show for you tonight. Boomer, what's up, Jay? Appreciate you joining us as always. Great show coming up. We will be joined by Michael Bratton, host of That SEC podcast, otherwise known as SEC Mike on Twitter. I'm sure you know the name. He is great insight into SEC football. He'll be a great conversation with him coming up on the show. So make sure you stay on for that. It's going to be a good night, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see his thoughts on the SEC and what he's going to say to maybe some of the questions we have in regard to SEC football, because anytime you can get an SEC perspective, someone who's been around that conference as much as he has and who he's talked to, I think it'll be great to get his insight.
Yeah, and if y'all have questions, drop them in the chat. Hunter's going to be filtering through to kind of see good questions to ask, and maybe it'll get thrown up there. So make sure you do that. He'll be joining us about 9 o'clock. He'll be joining us. So other than that, man, what about some news, Jeremy? Anything from today? Not a whole lot going on for OU football, obviously.
OU basketball team is ranked again, so that's good for them. Boomer Sooner Mars Jam 2.
What's up, Mars?
Jay, there may be some questions they have right now already ready for us to ask, but we've got several questions to throw at SEC Mike and see what's going on. Thanks for the compliment on my hat. Got it at the Thunder game.
Yeah, OU came in ranked 25 today. They got a big road test at Baylor tomorrow. Kansas is getting it handed to them right now at Tech. It's life in the Big 12. Man, hearing some rumblings. Also, Ty Haywood, the offensive tackle, hearing some good rumblings about him would be another massive get for Oklahoma if he ends up choosing that. Who knows? That's a long way away. But, hey, the recruiting is going in a good direction. That's all I got to say. So, 25, I think 2025 has a chance to be the best class that Venables has had. Hey, did you see the Twitter video today with Landon Rink?
I did.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, man. If they could land Rink, I still think that's a long shot, being a Texas legacy guy. But
Texas Tech putting it on KU right now.
Correct. Yeah. But Kansas has struggled on the road all year in the Big 12. They've struggled. Hopefully they struggle on Saturday when they come to Lloyd Noble. But Purple, crazy Oklahoma quarterbacks who have won the most Super Bowls at Blake Bell and Troy Aikman tied at 3. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, it's nuts.
Hey, Mark, got a street look going. Hey, and guys,
do I have street cred?
Yeah, special guest joining us at 9 o'clock. It's going to be a good conversation with SEC Mike. Can't wait for that. Does anybody watch SEC Mike?
Wait,
great.
What's funny, Mark, is go look up famous motocross guy Jeremy Lusk.
Why? He died.
He did, but it was my name.
What? There's more than one of your name, dude.
It's pretty crazy to see across Google, though, when it happened. Jeremy Lusk dies.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that have same names, dude. You're not the only one.
Mars says he's glad that he kept his mouth shut about Bill Beatenbook.
I think that's about because Creed Humphrey and Wanya Moore's getting rings and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So Creed Humphrey's going to end up about 4 or 5 rings, I think. He didn't have a great game, though, did he?
No,
he did, but he was snapping the ball low quite a bit last night.
He struggled last night a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, Purple watches them quite often. Yeah, there are a lot of Oklahoma. Listen, Oklahoma has not been in the SEC, so you're going to have some hate from SEC people. But just like Oklahoma, I mean, how many years in a row did Oklahoma just hate the SEC? Now they're part of the SEC. So I think it kind of goes both ways. Now, Missouri fans, there's hate with Missouri, period. And there's always going to be hate with OU and Missouri. I don't think it's changing anytime soon. They hate OU for keeping them out of the Natty. That's what they hate OU for. And they couldn't beat OU when it really mattered. So, yeah, get your comments ready for later on. Also, make sure, hey, the shirt is still out there, the Fan Stop shirt, the Toby Keith shirt. You want to go ahead and click that link there. It'll give you the discount. If you click that link to buy it, it's the red Solo Cup shirt. Has OU logo on a red Solo Cup. It's pretty sweet. So make sure you go to thefanstop.com, or that's if you want to buy it, but you can use the link and you get 10% off. So I would suggest going to the link that Hunter put in the description and pinned in chat there. So Big Bradley, you're a big fan of Big Ole Miss, and I know Bradley. I know he calls Lane Kiffin Lane Whiffin, and I'm going to ask him about it tonight for you.
Absolutely, Jay.
Miss going into this year. So, yeah, I think he's really good, guys. I really like Mike. I think he's pretty level-headed, which I like. You're always going to have people that go – look at Jeremy. Jeremy goes off the deep end half the time on here. So,
yeah, I do. I need to lay off the caffeine. I know that.
You having problems tonight?
Yeah, not feeling great, man. Yeah, Monty started early because special guest tonight, SEC Mike. So excited to have him on and get his thoughts on a lot of different things. We will be asking a lot of questions about the SEC in general. My thoughts on Tiger with TaylorMade. I don't care if Tiger's with TaylorMade or Mattel or whoever. I love it because it's Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to sell a lot more merchandise now just because he's with it.
Yeah, sure.
He's playing this week.
Yeah, he is the Genesis.
Yep. Oh yeah. Big time. I did see where we did a rankings the other day on quarterback and where Jackson Arnold falls in the SEC. I saw where they had OU 10th. A guy from Athlon Sports had Jackson Arnold 10th in the quarterback rankings for the SEC. Man, what do you think about that?
Way underrated is what I would say on that.
Really? I mean,
I can't think of 4 or 5 better than him in that conference.
I think you could go 4 or 5 better.
I can't think of more than that, Jay.
It'd be hard to think of more, but there's been some weird things happen today too with assistant coaches. I mean, you saw the Tennessee running back coach go to the NFL. I think you're going to see more of that because the NFL, you don't have to do all that stuff. You don't have to recruit. You don't have to NIL, all that. And then, did you see the South Carolina stuff with Justin Stepp? He left.
I did not.
He left. They moved him to tight end coach, and he said, bye-bye.
Well, Shane Beamer.
Jay says, we may have haters, but I don't know of any SEC fans that have complained about us joining. You're right, and that's a great question for Mike, too, because he sees in all his videos. I'm sure there's a ton of OU fans because OU is excited about joining the SEC. And, in fact, OU Twitter, OU fans, they're hard to beat. I mean, they're a monster. It's a monster, dude.
Absolutely is.
What's up, Chester?
Jay, one thing I'd be interested in is getting his take on, and I know there's several things you're going to ask him about, but obviously the Alabama situation is an interesting one to ask about because that's going to be, I don't know. And then what we heard today about the Washington deal is unbelievable to me.
Oh, about Jed Fish?
Yes.
Interviewing for UCLA. Obviously, he didn't take it, and they hired Foster. But, yeah, that's weird. Why would you even consider UCLA if you're at Washington? You just took the job. What is up with these coaches that take jobs and leave 15 days, 20 days later? It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, I wish I had that flexibility. I could just take a job and 2 weeks later leave again. I mean, come on. Have a little bit of pride for your school, which obviously he doesn't. He didn't have a pride at Arizona either, the way he left them. So it's a bad deal all around, man. The way coaches can leave, it's a bad deal. Yeah, Bradley, that's true. Apparently he interviewed for the UCLA job.
I don't know how you go back to your team.
Why interview? Why?
Well, it's a disservice to your team. Like, who would want to play for him?
You know what that kind of tells me, Jeremy?
What?
Maybe he showed up in Washington and the players are like, not a big fan of this guy.
Well,
maybe he's having a little bit of pushback. I don't know.
I would highly doubt that pushback because if that's the case, why would he have gotten the job?
Well, the players didn't hire him.
True, and they do, as Hunter said earlier, they want some continuity there, I'm sure. They got to keep players around.
Yeah, did you see the video of the UCLA players? They were super pumped when they hired Foster. I mean, they're super excited. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Jay, OU's got in basketball, we got 2 games this week, OU does, and you have to find a way to split somehow.
You got to split. I mean, that would be
You got to
huge.
beat Kansas at home. Got to beat Kansas at home.
Yeah, Kansas getting drilled tonight. You can beat them at home if you play well. That's it. Are you going to play well? I don't know. I don't trust OU to play good. Yeah, Purple, big mistake, buddy. Big mistake.
Massive.
What were they thinking? Did they even
weren't.
get a chance? They didn't get a chance to offer him. He went with DeBoer just like that. I don't think they even got a chance, which was
They
stupid.
weren't thinking, Jay.
Or did he already know he was going to Seattle the whole time? I don't know, man. I mean, that's hard to know.
Hard to know.
Some of these guys, they don't want to. I don't know how to put this, but I think being an offensive coordinator in college is way different than the NFL. Way different.
I agree.
How many guys in college as a coordinator also succeed in the NFL? How many? What's the percentage you think? I mean,
are you saying, Jay, as a coordinator in college, go to the NFL?
Yeah. I mean, most of those guys in the NFL have been coordinators or like assistants in the NFL. Hardly many of them came from OCs in college, right? Usually that step as a head coach in college would be your next step.
That would be your next step. Why so many quarterback grabs the last 2 to 3 weeks? I'm confused on that.
I'm confused on that, Bob. I'm not sure what you're asking there, Bob.
Yeah, if Grubb wanted it, maybe offers.
He's talking about offers.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of surprised with the one I was hearing from 2026 as well. But that's it. Purple hit it right on the head. Nail right on the head. Right there.
That's exactly
you never know who's going to transfer. You never know. You kind of got to be ready. You got to have a bench, man. You got to have a bench for every position, really. So.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. If you talk about transfers, Jay, as far as what Purple just says here, the transfer portal has changed the way you can you recruit anything because, like you just meant, no one knows who you're going to have in the future. Now, the problem is it's kind of risky. You start taking a little too many guys, and then it's gonna almost force the hand of some.
That's the hard part is the guys you're recruiting the guys that are on your team too, and that's what you have to do that constantly, 365 days a year.
Hunter says Luttrell has a different approach. Elite quarterback every year is a great idea.
Yeah.
If you can keep him around, it's an excellent idea.
That's a great question, Jay.
That's Hunter, a great one, Jay.
Hunter, can you pin that? Or remember to put that one up there as we get into the SEC talk after OU? That's a great question. I like that question, Jay. Good one. Yeah, offers. I'm the 2026 guy. I mean, who knows on quarterback offers? Why? It's still 3 years away from those guys, but you have to go ahead and offer guys. So I don't know. I don't know what their thought process is. I think it's going to be hard when you have Hawkins and Sperry there at the same time. I mean, that's going to be hard. You have Arnold there too. I mean, that's a lot of quarterbacks to kind of make happy.
You got to play the waiting game if you're a quarter, and you got to trust that your time is coming. Yeah, Jay. Jay, don't hesitate to remind us if we forget to ask.
Yeah, here's how this is going to work when Mike joins us. Hunter's going to go through the comments. He'll put up the ones feels that is great questions to ask as Mike will be joining us here any moment. Appreciate him taking time out of his schedule to do this. So should be good conversation. Some good. Yeah, Tyler says players stick around if we win. To an extent, Tyler, 4 or 5 star guy playing, you're not sticking around. I don't think personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's to an extent. Absolutely is.
Yeah. That's correct. So, even Georgia and Alabama have a bunch of transfers every year because they're not playing, right?
Oh, for sure.
So,
and no 4-star, 5-star guys just going to stick around on the bench. Not going to happen.
No, not happening.
And again, you just mentioned how many Georgia had. It was a crazy number. I don't remember where all those guys went, but they're going to go somewhere and play. I promise you.
Yeah, they're not going to just sit the bench.
No,
you're not that good of a player to sit the bench. I mean, well, that's true to an extent too, Tyler. I mean, people get processed out. Yeah.
It was also a different age a little bit. It's changed the last 2 to 4 years. it's not just the last 10 years. We're talking about the last couple of years it's changed. And partly it could have been a big deal about why Nick Saban's not doing it anymore.
Well, I think Nick Saban got out. It's just NIL and stuff. It's too much, man, for some of these people. They don't want to mess with it. Do you blame some of these coaches for leaving? I don't.
No, it's the way in which some of them leave is what I blame.
I agree with that. Yeah, Mordecai's a perfect example. That's a great example, Purple Orca. Really is.
Excellent example, Tanner Mordecai. It's changed, Tyler. Yeah. It's changed, and it's going to keep changing, and it's never going to stop changing. It's the world of NIL and football and college as we know it. And think about 10 years ago. Think about some of you guys that are my age when you were in college and how different it was in sports. Right. It's unbelievable. That's right.
And it's not going to stay the same. You stay the same, you'll get passed up anyway. So you got to change. Things change all the time. Yeah, that's right. He's playing golf now. He's going to be on game day, which, by the way, him on game day is going to be a huge asset to game day. I think he's going to be
Yeah,
I think he was already good on TV. He'll be great.
I think the chemistry he'll bring with the other guys on there will be – he's kind of a perfect fit, perfect contract.
Do you get rid of Lee Corso and he takes Lee's place?
Well, I mean, you know my thoughts on Lee was great, but Lee, I don't know how much more he can do. He didn't do a whole lot anyway.
True. That's true. I mean, I think they're kind of – I mean, he couldn't do a whole lot last year. I mean, other than the picks and every once in a while. Yeah. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
How are you? Hey, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. We're joined now by Michael Bratton, otherwise known as SEC Mike, host of That SEC Podcast. Guys, it's a great podcast. Appreciate all the content you put out. It's really good, and especially as the OU's moving to the SEC. It's a good one for everybody to check. Just tell us a little bit about you, Mike.
Hey, yeah. First of all, let me say welcome to the SEC, boys. We can't wait to have you guys on the field. I mean, we kind of been counting Oklahoma as SEC already, and all the other 14 SEC teams are mad as hell that we count Texas and Oklahoma, but it's official to us. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here. But yeah, I worked in the media a long time. That's not even actually what I went to school for, but that's kind of, I'm just so passionate about it. I kind of had to work in that field. And so I started up an SEC podcast a couple years ago with my cousin Shane, who's got no media affiliations. He's just the guy on the couch drinking a beer. He's the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. So I try to be a little bit more serious, even though I'm not very serious. And then I just got this crazy, I don't want to call him an alcoholic, but during football season, we're all a little bit alcoholics on That SEC Podcast.
That's great. Hey, Mike, just maybe your opening thoughts of Oklahoma moving to the SEC.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you mean in terms of like the team, the culture?
Yeah, the first year in the SEC, just kind of give me your thoughts of what do you expect from them, really?
I mean, it's interesting because there's two ways to look at it. A lot of people think not just Oklahoma, but Texas too are just going to get their ass kicked, and it's going to be like, welcome to the SEC. But that's what we thought about Missouri and A&M. And A&M came into the league. They, of course, had Johnny Manziel. They were one of the best teams in the country for a short while there. And then Missouri, I think they struggled initially, but then they won back-to-back SEC East titles. So I think there's two ways you can look at it. You'll look at it as they're not going to be up for the week-to-week grind that is the SEC, or Texas and Oklahoma are going to have a serious chip on their shoulder to prove that they are legitimate. And, you know, the two teams, well, really Oklahoma's the one that's been running the Big 12 for the past 2 decades. Texas just kind of fell into winning a Big 12 finally after being picked to be the team to win it seemingly every year. But, yeah, I mean, I'm so curious to see how they look week in, week out, if they're up for the challenge. And this league, I mean, you guys are going to get sick of hearing this, but I'm sure you already know this is a line of scrimmage league. Yeah. And there's a hell of a lot of good receivers and running backs and even great quarterbacks in the SEC. But there's a reason Alabama and Georgia typically are the teams that win. It's because they just have so much more deeper and more talented offensive defensive lines than anybody in the country.
Yeah. Trenches, we've said it on here before, Mike. Trenches win titles. And so would you say that is, you got Texas OU coming in, obviously. Is that maybe the biggest hurdle? I know Texas had Sweat on the defensive side this year, defensive tackle. OU didn't have a guy like that this last year. They had a great recruiting class, but would you say that is the biggest hurdle for the teams coming in is the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, and particularly late in the season when you're getting into, maybe you could kind of work around those types of deals first couple SEC games, but
yeah,
man, you start getting into, week 6, week 7, week 8, and it's, my God, it just keeps piling up again and again and again, all these damn teams you got to face, and really just going on the road and seeing what that's like. I mean, I'm a Tennessee graduate. A couple years ago, Tennessee was looking, almost a lock to go to the college football playoff, and they ran into Williams-Brice Stadium down there in South Carolina at night. Places like that will get you. Kentucky is no longer an automatic W, that they were for decades. Now that's a tough out. Ask Florida all about it. The Florida fans can't wait for Mark Stoops to leave because he owns them, and that's pathetic, but that's the truth right there.
Oh yeah, and I know last year we were talking about Alabama a lot, maybe the decaying dynasty, and just overall Alabama with Saban leaving, the hire of DeBoer, and then now the situation with Ryan Grubb. Just kind of, where do you think Alabama's are they next year? Are they going to be right up there at the top again, or do you think they're going to maybe take a step back?
Yeah, it's certainly now they've lost their offensive coordinator and offensive line coach too.
Yeah.
Now that seemed like it was kind of dirty, like they were trying to. They basically stayed during the transfer window there for Alabama, but I think the people that are dancing on Alabama's grave right now, I was doing it last year, so I can't really call them out, but I think it might be a little premature because I think Kalen DeBoer is such a good coach. I think Alabama's going to be right in the mix to win the SEC, even win the national championship the next year or two with Kalen DeBoer, with the roster he's inherited. My real question is, can he sustain it? Because there have been many coaches come into the SEC that we thought were great, and then this league's got they expose good coaches. They expose them fast. So, hell, if they win 8-9 games next year, they could run his ass off in a season or two. And that may sound crazy, but one month of Feinbaum collars and DeBoer, his ass could be back on the West Coast.
Yeah, hey, that's great. Hey, Mike, you mentioned new coaches, and you got Elko at A&M. Jeff Lebby left Oklahoma to go to Mississippi State. You got the DeBoer hire at Alabama. I may be missing another one. I don't know, but what do you think of the Elko hire? Going from Jimbo to Elko, you think that puts them in a much better place? And then Jeff Lebby to Mississippi State. Obviously, it's a head coaching job. It's great for Lebby. But maybe talk about those two hires, if you will.
Yeah, I love Mike Elko and what he did at Duke. Duke was just awful when he got there, and he immediately turned them around. I still don't know how he did that. I'm not going to pretend like I know because I don't cover ACC. I don't waste my time on lower level football. But I was very impressed just by the fact that, the few games I did see, just the defense. They got that quarterback playing, Riley Leonard, I think was his name. Now he's off to Notre Dame. But, he's inheriting a solid roster at A&M. I know they had a lot of guys hit the portal, but they were mostly backups, and they've added about 25 guys via the portal there. So I think it's kind of a net, I wouldn't say net gain, net loss. I think it's virtually the same for Texas A&M. So if Mike Elko, he was there several seasons as a defensive coordinator, and really A&M took a step back when he left, and they hired DJ Durkin, who I don't know how in the hell that guy keeps getting a job. He's worked for about half the SEC now, and he's not even that good. So I don't get it. But I think Mike Elko, that's the sneaky good hire. I hated Jimbo Fisher. His antiquated, he was running an offense like it was 2013 in College Station, and that killed A&M time and time again. So I think it's an upgrade there. And Mississippi State, They have a chip on their shoulder, and they should, because they get discounted a lot, they get looked down upon a lot, and their fans, it's always a running joke that they're picked 7th in the West every year, even though that's not true. But that's kind of how they carry themselves. But I am down on Mississippi State just because I think Jeff Lebby's a solid offensive coordinator, but how in the hell are we supposed to know what he is as a head coach?
Yeah.
And the defensive coordinator he hired, he's never called plays as a defensive coordinator. So how the hell do we know what to make of him? They return the least amount of production of all 16 SEC teams, Mississippi State does. So I think we can't even really judge him till year 2, year 3. And in the SEC, again, similar theme. They'll run your ass off if you suck for 2 seasons in a row. So I think Jeff Lebby's walking into a very, very, very difficult job. And I honestly, I mean, he could be great. He could be terrible. He could be somewhere in between. I don't know how to grade him at this point in time.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think there's only so high you can take Mississippi State. You know what I mean? There's only so far they're going to go. I think they kind of have a ceiling every year. But, NIL's been a big topic, obviously, especially I would say OU Missouri has had a little thing with some transfer. Caden Green left and went to Missouri. You have them really getting big time money in NIL right now with the $62 million donation. And then you got Ole Miss, what Ole Miss did in the portal. I mean, I know Lane Whiffen, as you call him. Is this the year Ole Miss becomes Lane Kiffin, gets them? I mean, obviously looking at their schedule, they should be a top 12 team. They should make the playoff, or he's probably going to have a lot of heat, don't you think?
Yeah, Whiffen Kiffin, he's got to win. He's got to win this year. If he doesn't win this year, didn't even face Alabama in the regular season. So the team that has always beats his ass, he doesn't even have to face them. So what are the excuses this year? He gets Georgia. They're coming to Oxford this year. They beat him by about 40 last year. So can he at least lose by just 20 playing at home? We'll have to see about that. But I mean that I love NIL. To go back to what you first said, just because the fact that Nick Saban and Kirby Smart were against it, that told me it was good for the rest of us, because they've dominated college football. Good for them. They're still going to dominate. Of course, not Nick Saban. He's off on College game day. But I think the fact that 4 or 5 years ago, Ole Miss and Missouri sitting here talking about college football playoff, that would have been pure homer talk and something that could never happen. And now, I'm not saying it's a guarantee or anything, but I think it's legitimate. You going into next season, you want to look at Missouri's schedule. They're the only ones in the SEC that, if you take the combined record of every team they're playing in 2024, had a losing record in 2023. So the path to 10, 11 wins for Missouri is there again. And a lot of that, to your point, is because of the NIL. And it's all legal now, so I don't care. I live in America. You're worth what someone's willing to pay you. So I realize it's a dirty game and not everybody's on the same playing field, but that's called college football, because Alabama and Georgia, they've been paying people. They've just been doing it under the table. Now everybody's doing it. They're the ones that are bitching about it. Yeah. That's why, I love it.
Yeah. I got to get your thoughts on, you mentioned Tennessee grad, right? Their schedule's pretty favorable as well. And really, we broke down the schedules of, I guess you could say, the contenders of the SEC. And there could very well, Mike, be a massive logjam at 9-3, possibly somewhere around 10-2. And I'm just curious, how many teams going in the 12-team playoff do you think the SEC gets year one? And the second thing I want to ask you and get your opinion on is a 9-3 SEC versus a 9-3 Notre Dame, even a 10-2 Notre Dame, with that independent, attached to them. What are your thoughts on that as far as Notre Dame?
I mean, they're just lucky there's no FCS playoff, because that's the one we'd send their ass to. But no, I mean, yeah, it's not the same. It's clearly not the same, and it remains to be seen exactly how they're going to do it. I know Sankey's pushing for as many at-large berths as possible in the college football playoff, and more power to him, because all that is going to do is get more SEC teams in there. So the Pac-12, I think it's bad for the sport, but it's I mean, it's the Pac-2 now, right? So I mean, we can't give them a spot. So it is what it is. But yeah, I mean that's going to be a fascinating breakdown. I mean, I could even see we just saw Florida State go undefeated and get left out. What if, teams like Clemson and Florida State, if they're like 11-1, I would argue there's teams in the SEC going 9-3 that are probably better than those. You know what I mean? But they don't have to play anybody. So I hope they do it the right way. SEC, you guys will find out. I mean, you probably mocked SEC bias. Now, SEC bias is real, but it's real for good reason because they win nearly every national championship. They do it in recruiting. They do it in the NFL draft. I mean, this is the best football, and it's not even debatable.
Yeah, that's right. I 100% agree. And one thing I want to get to as far as OU this year on the road, they go to, especially the back half of OU schedule is brutal. I mean, they open up, they can get, and they have to do good early because at the end, you close out with Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, and LSU, 3 of those on the road. I mean, that's brutal. OU's not used to that. That's used to playing Kansas, Texas Tech. I mean,
right.
Let's be real, and losing those games last year. So, but what do you think? Your opinion? You're a Tennessee grad. Best game day atmosphere for all us OU fans wanting to travel to road games, man.
Mm-hmm. Is that? I believe that LSU game is in Baton Rouge, right?
It is correct. Hopefully,
go to that one. Trust me. And hey, for your sake, if you go, I hope it's a night game for the actual team. I hope it's an 11 a.m. kickoff because that's what they may need. But man, there's nothing like Death Valley. I've been to many music festivals. That's the closest I've ever experienced to a music festival scene in a college game day is Baton Rouge. It is a wild, wild time. That's my, by far, number one favorite venue in the entire SEC to go visit.
Awesome. Hey, one more question I have before maybe Jeremy has one is that we had a viewer ask a question on here about if you were to see the SEC maybe go grab another 2 teams in the future, which 2 or which would it be that you would like to see?
Which would I like to see, or which ones do I think it would be? I mean, because that's 2 different questions, probably.
Maybe which ones you think it would be. I like that better.
Yeah, I mean, I think they covet North Carolina, which may surprise people, but that is a market that obviously there's no SEC team in North Carolina right now. That's where the headquarters of the SEC network is, in North Carolina. So I think they covet North Carolina more than Florida State, more than Clemson. But they would have to add someone, I would think, if they're going to add North Carolina, they'd have to add one more because you don't want a 17-team conference. So that's going to be pretty interesting. You hear Virginia. I think Virginia Tech makes a lot more sense than Virginia, honestly. But I think that's kind of the way they would go. But in terms of, maybe for competitiveness, who would I want? I think a lot of people look at Miami and Florida State. I don't want that's a garbage fan bases. And I mean, Miami fans are not even relevant, are they? I would like to see them go a little bit more Western, like keep Oklahoma State so we can get that Oklahoma State rivalry, keep that going. I think that's probably one at the top of my list would be Oklahoma State.
Nice.
All right. And hey, Mike, I want to get your thoughts on something else here about, you mentioned percentage of returning starters, and I know you talked about that. So I'm sure you have that on your mind. OU's defense returns nearly everybody. Thankfully so, because to enter the SEC, they've got to be better on defense. But talk about, in your opinion, Georgia. We know Georgia where they are defensively, but maybe your top 4 on the defensive side of the ball that you think next year it's going to be, because everyone wants to talk about offense and what some of these teams are doing, but defensively, who do you got as the top 4 defenses?
They don't really play defense these days. Even in the SEC, we're quarterbacks, we're receivers, we're running backs. But, it's funny because at the end of the day, that's what has separated Alabama and Georgia, again, is their defense.
Yeah.
And just the incredible athletes they have on that side of the ball. Fortunately for the rest of the SEC, Nick Saban's gone. And all the players that he recruited to play his defense, I don't know how they're going to fit Kane Womack's defense. So I think you take Alabama out of the conversation as as having one of the better defenses. So that it's going to be nice to see Alabama give up 30 points in a ball game. That's not often we get to see that. So I'm taking them out. Georgia's got to be at the top of the list, no doubt. I think Texas A&M outside shot, probably not top 4, but close to it. I'd probably put them somewhat close. I'm trying to think. Auburn's, I think they've returned a ton on defense this year. Of course, they got rid of their defensive coordinator, and they're bringing in DJ Durkin, who I just bashed, so I probably can't put them in the top 4. LSU's usually there, but they're god awful. Can't put them in that comp. Like I'm saying, there's not a lot of great defenses. I was looking at defensive coordinators the other day. The SEC does not have a lot of great defensive minds. They're all in Athens, if I'm going to be honest with you. So Georgia's far and away number 1. I think Oklahoma could crack that list. I believe Oklahoma returns more on the defensive side of the football than anybody in the SEC. So that's a credit to them. I think Texas will probably be there as well. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see the 2 new teams in the SEC have 2 of the better defenses. And then to round out maybe Missouri, but they're losing their defensive coordinator and some defensive backs too. So I don't know. That's a really good question and one that I've not thought a ton about. One to keep your eye on, though, is Kentucky. Kentucky generally has a pretty good defense under Mark Stoops and Brad White, their defensive coordinator. He's one of the more underrated ones in the country.
Yeah, and maybe we end it with this right here. I know Texas fans, they like to whine about this horns down. They're not going to get that. They're not going to get that treatment that they get in the SEC. SEC is going to do horns down all day long, right? Right, Mike?
Well, they may not even get the 2-finger salute. We give a 1-finger salute pretty unanimously in the SEC. But yeah, horns down. That will not be a penalty. Texas does not. If they come into this league and they think they run it, good luck. I mean, all their crying and all that is just they're just going to get more horns down than they can handle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, thanks so much, Mike. We really appreciate you taking time. I know you're a busy man. Love your podcast. Love it. And just excited to be the part of the SEC. I know the OU fans are, and just very excited. Thanks for taking time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. And yeah, hit me up in the off season. I got time. So if you need a guest, let me know.
All right, man. Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Mike.
Bye-bye.
See you. Great stuff with SEC Mike. If you're just getting on here, Jen and others, make sure you go back and watch from about 15 minutes or 17 minutes, whatever it was when he got on here, to 37 minutes. Dude was unreal. Just a great interview with him. He's great. Knows so much about the SEC, Jay.
He does. Yeah. And I like it because he's, a lot of us, what he said about NIL I thought was very interesting. He loves it, and Georgia and Bama have been doing it for years. Now everybody can do it, and now everybody's getting ticked off about it. So very interesting stuff. So
What do
appreciate
you think? Hey, I thought it was interesting the 11-1 comment about Clemson and Florida State compared to 9-3.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about Notre Dame, but didn't really talk about Clemson, Florida State in that mix. But I was going to ask him, Jay, maybe when we have him on again. Sankey is really good, and I think being in the SEC with Sankey is just going to be tremendous.
Yeah, Purple says we'll run it in softball. That's right. Hey, and you know what's funny is we were talking about, teams in the SEC that they won't put up with losing. Guys, OU's in that same boat. If Brent Venables next year throws out a 7-5, 6 just say it happens, the heat's going to start getting higher because it's Oklahoma, right? It's not just because you're SEC. It's Oklahoma. I don't care what conference you're in at Oklahoma. You got to win and just win, baby. And that's what Venables and team has to do next year. And I was kind of hearing what he said about the defenses in the SEC. OU needs to be top 3, top 4 defense.
You can see he hinted at that, and Mez is right. OU's prime maybe to take that seat, and maybe that seat got moved. Alabama's seat maybe moved very much, and OU can take that place. Chester, I did a rant at the end of last night's episode, but I might get one in tonight. You never know what'll cause me to rant, but Jay, it was very clear that LSU is the road game that you must take. And it's also very clear that Ole Miss and Missouri, if they don't make the playoff, it's a huge disappointment, I think.
Well, there's one team that could really keep them out of the playoff.
OU.
OU go win those 2 games. It hurts them big time because I bet you right now Missouri and Ole Miss are counting OU as wins. I mean, they're both home games for them. So, I mean,
there it is, Chester, trying to get me going. That one won't work. That won't get me going. Football does rule as far as
I do think. I think NIL and those other sports, if you do it with name, image, likeness, it works.
Well, not just that, Jay. There's other sports are getting money. Now, not to the extent of football, but apples and oranges.
Hey,
how many teams on paper would be more talented than OU in the SEC?
Well, let me go through the list: Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, probably, maybe.
That could be it.
LSU.
Have they had better recruiting classes than OU, Jay?
Texas A&M.
Has
Texas. OU going to fall about 6 in that, you think?
I don't know. I think maybe 4 or 5.
This may be true, Mess. Ole Miss probably isn't more talented overall. Maybe overall they're not. Here's
you're going recruiting classes, Jay.
OU's had 2 top 7 recruiting classes. They should be one of the top. They should be one of the top teams in the SEC as far as talent. They should be.
Absolutely. If you're going recruiting classes, exactly. Listen. Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas, all have more talent. Georgia, Alabama, Texas, I agree with. Ole Miss, I think, is right there with OU.
Hey, the reality is this. If you have top 7 recruiting classes year after year after year, then if you're not a top 7 team in college football, either 1, you missed on guys and they didn't turn out that good. 2, you're not developing players. That's the only problem, right? Or other teams are coaching guys up more. I mean, if you base it off, I'm saying if you base it all off recruiting classes, you can't do that. But I'm just saying.
And here's what I'll say about Bama. And you could hear SEC Mike kind of say, hold your horses a little bit as far as Bama. If they start winning early, I think they'll be pretty. If they lose early, it's going to be tough.
And you know what else he said that was, I mean, I knew it, but I didn't think about it. Was the fact when Missouri and Texas A&M went in the SEC, people thought they would get curb stomped. Remember, Missouri played for SEC title 1 or 2 years. A&M, Johnny Manziel. I mean, so.
Jay, what do you want to answer to 405 boy?
Well, Jay.
You predicted 9-3, but then you're saying he's not on the hot seat.
What now?
I'm just reading what it says.
I said he would be on the hot seat at 7-5.
At 7-5 for sure. I think if they don't make the playoff 2 years, he's done.
You think he has 2 years to make the playoff?
And he's done after that.
I don't think so.
Now we could say that
if they're right on the cusp of the playoff, I don't think he'd be fired. If that's what you're saying. I don't know what 405 boys said calling him out for here. What did I do? What did I say?
I'm trying to see if he'll put it back on here.
I don't know what I said that caused that to be put up there. I mean, I didn't say anything about him not being on the hot.
It was also obviously it's very clear that the trenches are a big to-do here. And this is something we've talked about over and over again. Over and over and over again. OU, here's what I would say, Jay. And look, I've been a massive Jeff Lebby guy. I've been very big, high on Jeff Lebby. I will say this in regards to the comment about trenches. And this may be shocking. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth. I'm about to say it, though. I think the perspective, the mindset, the attitude that Seth Luttrell and Bill Bedenbaugh will bring is a much more stronger front physically in the trenches than Lebby would have brought with the offense. Now, the offense might have scored better with Lebby, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's got to be a mentality there. You can score more points. It doesn't mean you're a better team all the time. It just doesn't. Because if you look at point totals and how many points you score, Look at OU last year. Take away 2 games, Tulsa and Arkansas State. It drastically changes your percentages and your points for the year. So you can't always go off point totals for the year and your average. I don't think you can always do that. I mean, look at what you do against teams that actually can play a dang worth of defense. Mark says, can Oklahoma be dominant in the trenches without having a household name? Can a team approach work as versus a few? Mark, I'm under the assumption you have to have 5 stars on defense on the line. 4 or 5-star defense.
Okay.
You can't win.
Do they have a household name right now?
David Stone, yes.
Freshman year, though.
I don't care. He's a 5-star. He's a top guy.
Okay. Outside of David Stone, do they have a household name?
Yeah, they're getting guys. PJ Adebawore, 5-star. You have to have some of those guys on the defensive front. You have to. You're not. I don't know of any team that has 3 stars all on the defensive front that's going to go win a national title, my opinion. And yeah. I mean, you can, and that's not saying 3 stars can't elevate their game and be great players. I saw a stat today about the Super Bowl, and the percentage of a 4 and 5 stars that get Super Bowl ring drastically outweighs 3 stars. Yes, there's some 3 stars that do it that turn out to be great, but 4 and 5 stars, that's where it's at, man.
Well, and what I was saying is, look, and I don't mean this well, I kind of do. You're going to the SEC. When you step on the field in the SEC, in my opinion, a guy like Seth Littrell and Beatonbow, they just bring that attitude. I think that will help OU, I think. Now, the offensive line, I think they need they got the dudes. They're just very young as far as a household name, guys that are going to play on Sundays. They may be a year or 2 away.
Hey, Mark, I kind of disagree with this in one thing. You say Thibodeau. I mean, Thibodeau was once a freshman too. I mean, you got to go through Sweat. Did you hear about Sweat before last year? I hadn't heard much about him. Had you?
I knew he was a big body.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you still have to play and get experience. That doesn't mean, there's no telling. I mean, David Stone may step in and be Tommy Harris, Gerald McCoy right away. We don't know. Right? He might be.
Hey, yeah. I will say this about the line. And again, I know I'm very high on this line. I'm very, very high on Fibachi Niwa. Okay? What I think this line might have in Fibachi, in the Hatchet from Washington, maybe even Spencer Brown is, I think, especially with some of those guys and then the young guys, I think the work ethic, and I'm not questioning everyone's work ethic in the past, but I do think that this group has a very good chance to prove a whole lot of people wrong. And I think they will, actually.
And I think if you ask anybody, most people, I'd be interested to know. So drop it in the chat here. But what's more important next year? Defensive line getting pressure or offensive line?
Yes.
No, I'm asking you which one is more important next year, you think?
I'm not answering that. They're both equally important, dude.
I agree with Hunter 100% because, listen, 100% because you go
100%?
Yeah, I do, because defense is where it's at. That's how you win championships.
Okay, so if the line can't protect Arnold, who cares?
No, but what I'm saying is, obviously the offensive line has to be good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what OU really needs, I think, next year is they need to step up.
Dumb question.
Hey, Sooner fan.
Dumb question.
Sooner fan. We did start early. We had to start early. SEC Mike joined us. Go back and watch the first, maybe it was started at 15 minutes in. Great time with SEC Mike from that SEC podcast. Go check it out. We had to start early. I
promise you this, if the O-line doesn't protect Jackson Arnold, it's bad. And I agree 4 or 5, boy, it goes hand in hand. But you can still concoct pressure if the D-line is just holding their own. Offensive line, if you don't block, you're done on the offensive side of the ball.
Oh, you didn't get pressure last year that much?
They didn't try to bring a lot of pressure. They tried to do it with the front 4.
I think most people want the freaking physical pressure defense back.
Well, most people in the chat are saying O-line. I want the pressure back too, bud.
Thank you, Kyla. Thank you,
Goodness.
Thank you,
You're going to point out every comment when someone says thanks. You're going to say thanks to anyone that says pressure? You're absolutely ridiculous.
I'm not
sorry.
Wow.
Goodness. Do I want pressure? Absolutely. Dumb question.
I didn't say, do you want it? I didn't say, do you want it? Wake up, clean your ears out.
You just did about it 30
I
seconds
said, what's
ago.
more important next year?
You said, I want pressure, Jeremy. So do I.
Okay. Moving on.
So do I.
You can win and not score a bunch of points is what I'm saying. Look at Michigan. Michigan won last year. Their defense was unreal. Unreal. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Are you going to win a championship scoring 50 points and your offense is great and you have no defensive pressure? No. You get defensive pressure, though? Yeah, you can win. You know what that leads to? Thing called turnovers. OU was already good in turnovers last year, one of the best in the nation. What's going to happen when they get pressure on the quarterback? Even more turnovers.
Okay, again, you guys are blowing things out of proportion and don't listen to anything.
I'm not blowing
It's a dumb question to say which one is do you want to have a good offensive line or a good defensive line? I want both. I want all the smoke. I want all of it.
What smoke is he talking about?
I want offensive line to be great, and I want defense. That's like saying, hey, would you rather have a great kicker or would you rather have a great receiver?
I'd rather have a great receiver. I can answer that.
I don't know. I'd rather have a great kicker too.
You're absolutely.
You get the point, Jay. You get the point.
No, I cannot believe you just compared kicker and wide receiver to defensive and an offensive line. Wow.
I want all the freaking smoke, Jay. The fact that we're sitting here saying, which one would you rather have? Oh, this team has every defensive player back on the team. If they can't create pressure, it's a major problem. The offensive line is almost all new. The offensive line is a major question mark.
Yes, I agree. So's the defense.
Jay, I'm sorry,
Jeremy. It's a therapeutic rant. I don't know about that.
I appreciate the therapeutic thing. But, Jay, listen, if the front four, okay, they can bring pressure on the ways. The front four should be better, though. Absolutely should be.
Should be, but we got to see it.
It's just, would you rather Jackson Arnold have a breakout year or Billy Bowman have the best year of his life?
Don't ask stupid questions.
Would you rather, Jay?
Doing that because I asked. I don't care. You know what?
Would I rather be shot by a gun or have like a Chinese water torture? Like you ever play Would You Rather, Jay?
Any question I ask is stupid compared to yours. So yeah, you're right.
Okay, I was bad. Sorry.
Jen, you're right. You have to have an offensive line. I 100%, 1000% agree.
We want both. Jay, you want both too. We all do.
I actually think the offensive line's going to be better than people think this year, in my opinion.
I do too.
Electric.
No, stop.
I
shouldn't even have brought it up.
There is no receiving without O-line. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, let's move on from that.
Let's not argue that all day long. I mean, does OU have to create pressure? I hope not. I think that's the bigger question, Jay.
What do you mean you hope not? They got to get pressure.
I didn't say get pressure.
You said I hope they don't have to.
I said, does OU have to try to create pressure? I hope they don't. I hope they can just, on the front four, just go out and beat their guy.
Well, that's what they haven't.
That is a game changer, Jay.
What you look at last year under Brent Venables, when did they get pressure? When they had to basically draw something up to get it. They didn't have last year, other than maybe, I think Ethan Downs beat his guy some because he led the team in sacks, but there wasn't a whole lot of people one-on-one, mano-a-mano, destroying their man. Now, David Stone looks like he can, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and we're identical twins. Jason's got me by 6 minutes. Hey, someone asked about the number of offensive linemen. I believe we have 14. OU has 14 right now. Is that correct, Hunter? Hunter will help us out. Hey, Jay, I actually saw someone at the track meet I was at coaching, came up to me and thought I was you, and they thought you grew a beard. They were like, wait, are you Jason? I said, no, I'm Jeremy.
Well, it's probably somebody I hadn't seen in a while then.
It was someone from when you lived in Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. Hunter's going
to look, but I think it's 14. It could be 15. But, Jay, even on the offensive –
I want to say something real quick.
Okay, go ahead, interrupt. Go ahead.
Go ahead and finish. I'll know.
No, you go ahead.
Well, talking about offensive line, Hunter says 15. But guys, I don't know how, I don't know why, but I've seen so many reports and I've seen people posting stuff, even guys that know what they're talking about, that say Troy Everett is the starter at center. I'm baffled if that's the case. Are you?
Okay. Are you wanting me to get upset tonight again?
Why you say that?
Troy Everett cannot, and will not be the center for this team.
I agree with you, but why is everybody saying he's the penciled-in starter?
Because he had a good game against. Because he had a good game when he played for Appalachian State. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
my blood pressure before we got on here is a little bit.
You kept grabbing your chest, turning your camera off. I was like, "Whoa!"
I actually was having chest pains, Jay.
Wow. Do you feel better now after the rant?
I feel pretty good. Hey, Everett is good. Just needs Chester. Put some weight on him. I love the guy. Maybe he's just not big enough, in my opinion. Bobby. I can't with this.
Follows stuff, but
what?
Bobby follows a lot of people. I mean,
and look, if you want to say, Bobby, that you expect him to start over Bates because
why do you say that?
I was talking, Bobby. If you expect him to start over Bates because it's kind of what you're hearing, I get that. Do you expect him to start over Bates based on what you've seen? Maybe you could say that because we haven't seen any of Bates. But if I'm going to base it on star rating, size, I'm going with Josh Bates.
The only reason I think they would even entertain the idea probably of Troy Everett is experience. Going to the SEC. I mean,
loyalty and experience, I guess, but he was tossed around, dude. Have you saw the Super Bowl, the new Twister movie?
What about Eugene Brooks?
You remember the Twister when the cow comes across and the semi? That was Troy Everett in the bowl game.
Hey,
sorry.
The new Twister movie looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Surely that was.
Hey, I gotta say something real quick. I got a problem with that movie. How can a semi truck, all this other stuff happen, and then Jeff Paxton or whatever, not Bill. What is his name? Bill Paxton.
Bill Pullman.
It's not Pullman. He ties a belt to a pipe, and they survive.
It's a movie. What's your favorite movie?
I like Twister.
You think the Hallmark movies are real life, dude? How many times does a girl go from a big city to a small town and marry a boy? Come on, Jeremy.
Every Hallmark movie I see, it does, Jay.
That's not realistic either.
Jay said it's the suck zone. You're all right.
Jeez.
I wish I was a.
How can you bash Twister? How can you bash Twister and then talk love about Hallmark?
I'm pretty sure Randy has his son is he watches our show. I think his son is a storm chaser. He'd be great to have a storm chaser on here one night.
Well, during a storm, maybe.
Hey,
that's
Jay,
right.
Let's talk again real quick about let's kind of wrap up. I think we can about the defense and offensive line, because I asked SEC Mike, and listen, if you just joined recently and you weren't on at the beginning of this, we apologize. We started early. We started early because we had a special guest, and it was one you don't want to miss. Go back and watch the beginning of this. Actually, it was about the 17-minute mark to the 37-minute mark. SEC Mike from SEC Podcast was outstanding. Just great to listen to. Very exciting. Lend an ear to those 20 minutes, please, if you haven't. But I did ask the question about the top 5 defense in the SEC, and he mentioned that OU's got more than anyone back on defense. Like, it is a major disappointment if this team's not, in my opinion, I'll say it again, maybe make people mad on here. If this isn't a top 25 defense, I'm very disappointed.
If it's not a top 4 defense in the SEC, it's a disappointing year.
Well, Jay, you disagreed with me on the top 25 thing.
When?
couple weeks ago, but now you're saying they are
Wait,
top
when did
40.
I disagree with you?
Maybe it was someone else. I don't know.
What
But
else was on the line with you? I've been on every freaking line with you.
I thought it was you,
dude.
Jay. Anyway,
What are you saying I said now?
I got in an argument about top 25. Maybe it was the viewers who said there's no way they're going to get there. Don't know.
I don't remember saying that. Sorry.
Okay.
Uh,
Worst twins ever, Jay. I'll take it as a compliment.
Michael says that I said OU would not have a top 20 defense.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Michael.
I don't remember saying that. Did I?
I'm pretty sure you did. And Hunter says it too. Anyway,
Wait. No, let me say my point. What I was saying during that was.
Oh, wait. Backtrack. Okay, go ahead.
Are you done?
Backtrack. Go ahead.
You're going to fall off the chair. I can see it right now. Okay.
You said it.
And listen, what I'm saying is they should be. I don't think they will be. They should be.
Okay, but Jay, you just said they're going to be top 4 in the SEC, right?
They should be.
No, you said they will be.
No, I said they should be.
Okay, let me ask you this, Jay. If they are top 4 in the SEC, are they top 25?
Yes. And this, I think they're saying what I said was unreal. And I agree with what I said then. Unrealistic.
How is it unrealistic, dude?
Jeremy, to watch them at the end of the last year, what they have on paper, they should be. But it's hard for me to fathom that they're going to make that jump. I don't know. I just think it's hard.
Hey, Stubby, you want to hear something real? Stubby, you want to hear something real? If it's 7-5 and any Sooner fan is happy, they're ridiculous. Because there are people who are saying, be patient.
I agree with
the
Purple.
team.
I agree. Top 40 is probably enough to win a natty. But guys, Purple, OU shouldn't be top 40. They should be top 20 with the players they have coming back on defense. Should they not?
Stubby, if this team can't win 8 games, there's something major going on, injuries or something.
Mark said
I agree, Mark.
I
If
agree.
We're 8-4, I'm ticked too.
Let me say this right now on February 3rd, tell you the 12th or the 13th. 12th. Okay. If OU's not 9-3, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have high expectations for OU. I always do. So I mean,
Hunter, drop Creed Humphreys' weight in here.
That can't be right. Is that right, Easy Street? And hey,
I don't care. You're not comparing Creed Humphrey to Troy Everett.
Hey, Jay,
Jeez.
If they go 9-3 and miss a playoff, I still think it's a great year. I mean, yeah, of course I wanted to make the playoff, but you're right about the schedule. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Okay, but the first 4 or 5, you're going to have 5 off the bat that you win.
Jeremy, here's the problem.
Should they win the first 5 games?
Jeremy, I
yes or yes?
What?
Should they win the first 5 games?
I think that Tennessee game,
If they can't beat Tennessee at home, they don't deserve to win another game.
Jeremy, at Auburn?
Jason, should they win their first 5?
They lost to Kansas and OSU, dude.
At home?
No, Auburn's on the road.
The first 5, Jay.
Auburn's the 5th game, is it not?
I'm counting 4 non-con in Tennessee.
May's at the end of this year, dude. Look at the
schedule. I forgot when the SEC, we put that game in November.
That's what all SEC teams do. It's smart. You don't want everything at the beginning. All I'm saying is...
Yes, hey, Brian and Eric and whoever else wants to say this about... I do expect a top 25 defense. That is not too much to ask.
Hey, listen. If OU comes out of Red River weekend with more than 1 loss, it's going to be a bad season. When you get done with Texas game, you got to have 1 loss. Otherwise, I think you're staring at 8-4, 7-5. With the back half of your schedule.
Hopefully, the only loss is Texas, if any.
What?
Hopefully, if the only loss is Texas, especially.
Yeah, what you really need to beat Texas. That's a game you really need to win. But
Stubby asked when we play Texas.
We get a bye week after Auburn to play Texas.
Hey, Ron, if Tennessee's a toss-up game, that's and it probably will be in the Vegas lines, but OU has to beat the Tennessees of the world at home.
Hey,
And Mez,
look at last year. OU was undefeated after Texas. They lost 2 games to 2 crap teams. And OU loses to crap teams all the time. They got to stop it. You can't do that.
Eric, I'm not comparing this defense to one player. Listen up, Eric. And I can say listen up, Eric, because we're pretty cordial on the Discord. And by the way, become a Sooner Surge Unlimited member and hop on the Discord. But Eric and I can banter back and forth. But here's what I would say, Eric. It's not one player. They have every single player back outside of one, and they have better guys in depth.
You got to play them.
Therefore,
You got to play them.
Therefore, they should be better. Why should Farouk be better?
Jeremy,
Like, how are we comparing this to Jalil Farouk?
hey, I think Eric's on the same page with me. The jump that they would have to make on defense, they should be. They've gotten great recruiting classes on defense, but I have yet last year you saw kind of glimpses of it, but then you saw the TCU game, and you're like, what the heck? Why? If there's shutdown defense, experienced defense, that's not going to happen, right? Yeah, they had some injuries, but you got to have depth now where you guys got to get injured, the other guys got to step up. I agree it is an upgrade with Zach Alley. I think that's going to help big time. And this defense, in my opinion, with who they have and the talent they have coming in on the defensive line, the recruiting classes they put together for the last 2 years, guys like Peyton Bowen, PJ Atabare, David Stone, those 3 5-star guys right there on the defense that should be starting. Those 3 guys need to be starting. They're 3 5-stars. Right?
Yes.
So put that with Stutzman and Bowman. This team should be dang good. This defense should be really good. We'll see if it is.
But and my issue with Sooner fans right now that are on here, and you're one of them, Jay, is the
What do
fact
you have an issue with me now? Why?
you think it's outside of the realm of possibility, like it's Haley's comment that this team might just, I don't know, it's unrealistic to say top 25 on defense. Like, what are you talking about? If they don't get it this year, they're not doing it then.
Jeremy, what I'm saying to you, if you would listen for a second, is that what I'm basing my thought on is I have not seen it in the last 10 years, them make drastic jumps on defense. Have not seen it. They've gotten better players. They had a year with Benito.
They moved up like 25 spots last year.
1 year, and then they went back south again.
No. This last year they moved up 25 spots.
Last year they did, but they still got to
under Venables and the guys that are all coming back, correct?
They should be way better this year. Yes.
Okay.
But why is it unrealistic to me to think they might not be? I have not seen it.
If you want to say top 5, top 10, I can get on board that.
You tell me what it is you've seen to make you think they're going to be that top 4 defense. Tell me right now, not with guys' names. I want to say with what you've seen over the last few years.
Well, I'll answer that. BB got himself run out. Yes, there was a debacle there with him and Mike Stoops. It wasn't pretty. They weren't recruiting well either at some of those. But listen, you asked me, Jay, why this defense should be top 4. They got everybody back.
I want actual things that you see on the field that makes you think they're going to be better.
Okay, I don't have the stats in front of me. I'll look them up for tomorrow, but they got better in most statistical categories.
Not end of the year they didn't.
Last year, they were better in most statistical categories. They were way better on short yardage. It wasn't even freaking close. They were way better in third down coverage overall throughout the year. Now, at the end of the year, they had some problems.
Listen.
Was this team way better short yardage?
Listen,
were they getting more penetration last year?
I think the whole thing's going to hinge on defensive pressure on the quarterback, period. But here's what I'll say.
And wait, Jay, let me say something. Sorry. It's the comments are coming in. Brent Venables had a lead because they weren't going to fire Mike Stoops. So let's remember that.
Listen.
They're not going to get rid of Mike.
Listen, Brent Venables, what he does year to year, he takes steps. And usually the teams get better. Look at Clemson. His defense has got better. They have better players. They should be way better next year. They should be top 3 or 4 defense in the SEC with what they have coming back. They 100% should be. I agree with that 1,000%. With what they have coming back, with what they have in the recruiting class, they should be. All I'm saying is, as an OU fan, I think it's maybe I have this aura about bad defenses, dude. It's hard for me just to jump on board that.
I can agree with you and Eric in that way.
As an OU fan, to say, hold your horse a little bit. I got to see it, man, consistently.
As an OU fan, I can agree with you and Eric in that.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. They should be.
We've all been shot in the foot too many times with this defense allowing things. I do agree with that, but it did get better last year in the Brent Venables. I think we can agree with that.
Oh, it was way better. Look at the stats. It was way better. I just think at the end of the year, they kind of fell off a little bit. And a lot of that had to do with the injuries, probably.
Eric says they brought Stoops in because things weren't right on the defense. When?
They brought him back, is what he's saying. And
it wasn't
right.
pretty.
The OU fans were running BV out last time.
Hey, it wasn't pretty. And Josh Heupel here wasn't pretty either, and he's a pretty good football coach.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't argue. And you can't argue what BV did at Clemson with the players.
Let's end it with this. I'm not sleeping on the defense, Chuck. Please, guys, don't let Jeremy change your opinion of what I say like he tries to do. He tries to put it in there and change it. But look at the position.
Marjorie, you're right there, too. You're right.
Look at the positions. Okay? Defensive line, defensive backfield, linebackers, safeties. There's no reason why this team shouldn't be better than last year, way better.
Not just better, way better.
Because not only are you bringing back guys with experience, you're bringing back better players. Some of the young guys are better than what they had. So I'm agreeing with you, Jeremy, on that. I 100% agree. This defense should be a really good defense. That's where I'll disagree with Eric. If he's saying experience doesn't matter, experience does matter, but I also think it's a combo of experience plus better talent. Okay, so it should be better. It's a third year under Brent Venables. Now, you have to see it, though.
Before we get off here, I've got to – I may lose it again because Ron Wood says Texas Tech is killing Kansas by 25.
OU's got to win that game Saturday.
I'm sorry. If Porter Moser – if you can't beat Kansas once at home, Kansas cannot play on the road this year.
That's 5 losses in the Big 12, all on the road.
OU has to beat them. Who cares about the Baylor game? Beat Kansas at home.
I agree with you.
So you talk about getting shot in the foot too many times. I'm done with OU basketball not being able to beat the Jayhawks. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they can't beat.
Moser. Okay, here we go. First off, Moser said, rumor mill fodder. Fodder means useless chatter. So in my opinion, what he's saying is it's useless to talk about it. But yeah, I'm going there. That's what I think.
It doesn't matter if he's entertaining the idea of DePaul. It doesn't matter if he's entertaining the idea of leaving Oklahoma. It doesn't matter. You got to go beat Kansas. Put it behind you.
Yes. And probably Kansas will have 4,000 fans there because OU won't sell it out for sure.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't go.
I've been to 3 games already, Jay. How many have you been to?
1.
Okay, so stop it.
I live a lot farther away, so
doesn't matter, bud. Probably won't.
Game is already sold out, Hunter says.
Yep. But look, they've had great crowds. Kudos to Porter Moser.
Hey, listen. What about what SEC Mike? Listen, if you have not watched the first part of this live, go watch it with SEC Mike. What about what he said about OSU coming to the SEC? He'd like to see it.
That was a little shocking.
I would love to be on a fly on the wall when Mike Gundy gets that announcement that, hey, we're going to go to the SEC, Mike. He has to deal with OU again. He would hate it.
Hey, it was interesting, the North Carolina stuff where the league offices are. I didn't even know that, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, listen, listen.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, so first off, the FanStop, thanks so much for the FanStop partnering with us.
Who's ordered
And-
a shirt? Who's ordered
Yeah.
a shirt? Drop it in
A
the
lot
chat.
of people ordered the Toby Keith shirt yesterday. If you haven't, go order it. You see the scroll rolling across there. Hunter's also got the link in the comments. But if you click on that link to order the shirt, you get a discount. So it'll take you right to the discount. It's a red Solo cup with an OU logo on it. It's an awesome shirt. And some of the proceeds from that, they help they go towards the Toby Keith Foundation. So please go do that. Also, Stubby says, like and subscribe. Please like the video. It helps a ton if you just like the video. Mark ordered a shirt. Thanks, Mark. And then also, thank you so much for SEC Michael Bratton joining us tonight from That SEC Podcast. Go subscribe to That SEC Podcast. It's a great show. They do great lives, him and his cousin Shane. It's great stuff. And please go watch. He had some great things to say about Texas. You'll want to see it. Yeah, Stubby, come join the Discord. I need some help, Eric says.
Hey,
That's right, Eric. Me and you both, bro. Me and you both, man.
And what Eric is referring to, and Hunter can drop it in here. If you're subscribed to the channel, we appreciate it. But you can take the next step by clicking the link to join the Discord. It's just like text messaging, Stubby. I figured it out, and I'm too old for it, too. Ron Wood said the women are on fire. They absolutely are.
Yeah, and we haven't even opened up everything we can do on there yet. We're just kind of getting started with that. So it's going to keep growing, and we're going to keep adding more things. So appreciate it.
Click the link. Click the link. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Boomer.
Sooner.